tail end of a little bit of process and a great deal of discussion here over these last several months about how to better equip the city of Circleville with tools and resources to support development, redevelopment, and general improvements of its core historical Main Street area, in an area that's well defined by parcel in the ordinance, I believe, that you've got in front of you for consideration. We're talking about downtown redevelopment districts. It's a tool that the state of Ohio has provided communities like Circleville. They're being utilized all over the state to, again, equip the city with a couple of things. One, a revenue stream beyond what you would normally have through the normal distribution of property taxes, because that's what a DRD is, it captures property taxes. But to put that revenue stream into a pot of money that you can use, that the city can use strategically to make improvements within the downtown redevelopment district. And those can range across a wide spectrum of uses, including grants to owners of historic buildings for improvements to those buildings, or loans to owners of non-historic buildings in the DRD for improvements to facades, to general conditions of the buildings to make them more conducive and usable for new development. It can be utilized for public infrastructure inside the DRD that, again, supports general improvements to the conditions, to the business climate, to promote development inside the DRD. It's a relatively new tool, only provided for by the state of Ohio in revised code about 3 years ago now, if I'm not mistaken, give or take. The city already has one existing DRD that they created around the Edwards property on the south end of Circleville. And again, it was developed and meant to be used as a revenue stream to support redevelopment and improvements of that property. But the city does not have a downtown redevelopment district in its historic downtown. There's a number of efforts underway that have been underway for a period of time by groups like Uptown Circleville and other local stakeholders that have all sorts of ideas for how they might improve, preserve, polish, and see the full potential of the historic Main Street downtown Circleville area. But those efforts and ideas can only go so far as local revenues and resources are available to help accommodate and meet them. And so thus the idea of creating the DRD. A couple important points about what a DRD does, what it is, how it is utilized, and what you can and can't do with it. Number one, it is a means for capturing property tax. It is not an increase in the millage rate. It won't increase any resident or business within the DRD district's property taxes at all beyond. It doesn't affect millage rates. It affects how each dollar that is collected of property tax dollars can be spent. And we're also talking about new property tax dollars. So whatever the effective date of the DRD is, that locks in the baseline. And the DRD only captures incremental increases in property tax value above and beyond the baseline that's set with the effective date of the legislation. So if an improvement is made in the DRD area and it generates $1 of new property tax revenue above and beyond the baseline today, the DRD would capture 70% of that new dollar and put it into a special fund that the city will have at its use for strategic investment to improve all those things we just talked about inside the DRD area. So again, that's most importantly, it's not a property tax increase for anyone. It's just a diversion and a change in the formula for how each property tax dollar is collected and then dispersed. It's very analogous or similar to tax increment financing or TIF districts, which have been a very common and widely utilized tool for development around this county, in this city, and around the state for years and years and years. But it's a little different twist on a TIF. Again, it's a tool to capture increases in property tax value, but in this case, dedicate them specifically for those uses within the DRD area. There are 4 districts that are being created through the legislation you're considering, each approximately 10 acres in size, because that's what Ohio Revised Code stipulates that the maximum size of a DRD can be 10 contiguous acres. You have a very large downtown area, a large area that extends east and west along Main Street, north and south along Court Street. And there's been some strategic thought that's gone into exactly the shape and size and what properties to accommodate in those. And it's been a combination of understanding where the historic buildings are, where the vacant properties are, where other strategic sites and locations are within those areas that could become beneficiaries of support through the DRD. There will be some questions and some strategy to be contemplated and figured out here going forward as far as, it's one to create the structure, it's one to hopefully start collecting some incremental increases in revenue along the way, but then how to be most strategic with that investment. The ordinance you've got in front of you has a, I forget the exact name of it, but there's have you got that, Tom?
Yes.
It's an advisory board of sorts that will look at the area and think strategically about the best investments to be made, probably to help entertain requests that might come from the public as far as use of those funds, and then make recommendations to council as far as the ultimate appropriation and development deals that might be struck out of all that. The bottom line is, it's a tool that's provided for your use within revised code to improve your downtown. You're not utilizing it until now, and so you're equipping yourself, as many other communities that we compete with and that are in the region and around the state are already doing. And so I think it's a positive step forward for Circleville, and we've been glad to provide some support in getting to this point.
Before we open this up for public comment, Mr. Scribner, I understand the school system is impacted by this, but you've had a discussion with the school board, correct, with the superintendent?
Yeah, a couple things. There was a legal notice as required by law that was given to both Circleville City Schools and Pickaway Ross Protectable Center. Both of their school boards received notice of the city's intent to move forward on this. I did have a dialogue with the leadership of Circleville City Schools that expressed no opposition or issues with it. They did have a request for some additional wording that's included in the final draft of the ordinance you have in front of you, just clarifying the terms under which, the point at which they'll be made whole, so to speak, where they don't forego any revenue after a certain point of time. And they had some good questions about understanding that it doesn't take $1 away of existing revenue they get today. It's only on increases. And I think they believe that they see this as, again, a strategic investment on the part of the city. And just to draw a quick analogy or reference to, I talked about TIF a moment ago. The county created a TIF area, which functions a lot like a DRD, in that it captures those property tax increases that can be reinvested in the area. The county had a TIF in place for years on the Castro Walmart property, and it helped pay for things like sidewalks and streetlights and roadwork and utilities and infrastructure and things that helped that property grow and mature more quickly than it would have without those. And at the end of the day, when that TIF rolled off, the school got a windfall of new property tax revenue. So I think they've had some history and they understand some short-term investment in foregoing potential increases in revenue for a much larger payday through a period of a little bit of patience and understanding. So no opposition expressed. They did ask for the language that you've accommodated in the draft you have now, and we've checked that box as far as providing the required notice to the schools.
Thank you. I do want to note that the City Council enlisted the help of Ryan Scribner and P3. This is not something he came to us with. Mr. Spring was very much aware of the potential benefit of DRDs and approached Mr. Scribner to help us. And thank you very much. We appreciate that. Are there any guests here who wish to